like pace.
It's certainly puzzling to me, but who am I to argue?
Every team has a different strategy, so
Absolutely.
I'm sure it's somewhere in the master plan for sure. Dallas grabbing 4 points on jam number 8, currently at 107, Rocky at 49. Just over 19 and a half minutes left in the game. And we have a power jam start for Dallas on the heels of Jet, who has contributed to 14 of Dallas's total 107 points.
Looks like Rocky Mountain sees the offensive play coming, takes off at a run, causing chaos.
And she who cannot be named is your jammer for Rocky. She is also your lead jammer. Jet taken out right at turn 2. And we've talked about that turn 2, especially for Jet and the Dallas crew. That's kind of a tipping point for them. Jet was taken out first to the outside, now to the inside. She who cannot be named on her first scoring pass, while Jet is still on her initial pass. Nice offensive assist there by Anita Riot and Fisher on the inside.
Looks like a high five for Rocky Mountain Roller Girls. That's 5 points on the board. Might be one of their bigger jams so far.
And I think Planet of the Skates was sent to the penalty box for Dallas. So she is a pretty strong blocker in Dallas's defense. And right now, that's exactly what they need because Rocky has really caught up. They have now tied their first half score here in less than half of the second half, if that makes any sense. They've scored 27 points here in the second period. And Dallas has been limited to 17 points so far here in the second period. Who are our jammers now, Rosetta?
We have Carnage for the Dallas Derby Devils, Harper Bazaar for Rocky Mountain Roller Girls. Looks like Carnage having some trouble getting knocked out at the pivot line. Harper Bazaar now heading to the penalty box. I'm not sure what call that was, but she is doing 30 seconds of hard time. Carnage now lead jammer in an opportunity to score.
And it looks like it might be a golden opportunity for Dallas to shift that momentum because Rocky has really kind of had control of this second half here. Dallas spreading out in a 4-person wall all the way across that track as Rocky taking more of a cluster formation in the straightaway.
Yeah, it looked like Dallas was trying to get a goat so they could control the pack, but didn't quite work out the way they expected. And Dallas tried to call off the jam before Harper Bazaar was released, but right at the whistle, Harper Bazaar finished her penalty. So both jammers back on the track here for the next jam.
Making up for lost time in that box. Only 3 points on that last jam for Dallas. Rip'n Rooster now taking the line for Rocky, trying to continue some of that second half momentum. But your lead jammer is Bailey Wheat, the top point scorer of the game overall so far.
That backward skating by Bailey Wheat was pretty great just now. She stayed in, doing backwards crossovers despite taking a hit to the chest. Now she is on her scoring pass. Looks like a high five for Bailey Wheat, 5 points on board.
And it looks like we have a star pass for Rocky. The star has been handed over to Fiona Grapple, who's taking over as the jammer of record for the team in black. Bailey Wheat calling it off before Fiona can get any points on the board.
That was another 3 points for Bailey Wheat before the call-off, bringing our score to 54 for the Rocky Mountain Roller Girls, 118 for Dallas Derby Devils. 64-point difference between the two teams right now. They've got about 15 minutes left in the game.
And Dallas has now outscored Rocky both in the first half and the second half. Only 1 point separating the two teams here in the second half alone, as Dallas has put 28 on the board, Rocky has put 27 on the board. But in total, Dallas is absolutely in control. 118-54. We are in now in jam number 12 with Jet and Mars Furiosity jamming for their respective teams.
Mars Furiosity skipping away from the pack, staying in on her toe stop. She is a lead jammer. Jet going down in turn 2, but her assailant, oh no, Jet thought she was free to go. It's a cutting penalty. She's going to the penalty box for the next 30 seconds. Mars Furiosity with the track roughly to herself.
Mars Furiosity, the top point scorer for Rocky at this point. She's put 18 of Rocky's total 54 points on the board, but that doesn't come close to Dallas's top 2 point scorers thus far. However, as the lead jammer, she does have control of that clock and grabbed a handful on that first scoring pass. We are short a blocker on both teams on this power jam for Mars Furiosity, who calls it off.
That's right. Fiona Grapple went in for the offense, broke up the Dallas pack a little bit, but not enough for Mars Furiosity to reach escape velocity. And she decided to call off the jam, trapping Jet in the penalty box.
7 points for Mars on that last jam, bringing Rocky up to 61. Dallas remains at 118. Less than 14 minutes left in the game. We are heading into jam number 13, and we have Harper Bazaar jamming for Rocky, and Jet has now escaped from the penalty box, has hit the pack, and is now on that initial pass right alongside Harper Bazaar.
Dallas working on Harper Bazaar, Planet of the Skates, along with Myth America, holding her at the top of the pack. But Harper Bazaar, your lead jammer, in fact, she was able to escape first. Jet still in the pack on that initial pass.
Myth America out to the penalty box. So Rocky currently has a 4-3 pack advantage, and they have lead jammer status.
Could be a very strong jam for Rocky. They have everything in their favor in this moment. Again, we're talking about the momentum shifts. Will they shift the momentum? Will we see a definitive jam where we say, that's it, Rocky's making a comeback?
Now, it warrants noting that Jet has removed the star from her helmet, but my gut is telling me Jet is going to just do a star stash as opposed to a pass, because that's just the kind of jammer that she is. But Anita Riot is currently anchoring that defense up at the front for Dallas and is a formidable jammer in her own right. So it could go either way right now. Right now, we also have that Dallas tripod being broken up beautifully by Assault and Peppa of Rocky, providing some offensive assistance.
That's right, Assault and Pepper assaulting the defense.
And there's that star pass, even though I said she probably wouldn't. Nita Riot taking over as the jammer for Dallas, getting shoved out of bounds again by Assault and Peppa right at the apex. 10 points so far for Harper Bazaar. Can she make it more? Or will she choose to call it off? There's only 9 seconds left in the jam. She calls it, and that was a solid jam for Rocky.
I think that might be their biggest jam.
Indeed, it was a total. We're waiting to see. I believe that was 13 points total. We're waiting on the last few from the jam referee to be added to the scoreboard. There we go. Yeah, so 13 points for that last jam, courtesy of Rocky's jammer crew, bringing Harper Bazaar now up to the top point scorer for Rocky. 27 of Rocky's total 74 points belong to Harper Bazaar.
And that jam also ate into the point differential between these teams. Rocky Mountain Roller Girls sitting at 74, Dallas at 118. Only 44 points now separating these teams, a little under 12 minutes on the clock. 44 points, not impossible for Rocky Mountain in the game of roller derby.
Well, we've got a team timeout on the track called by Dallas, and this team timeout is brought to us by...
Team Timeout is brought to you by RollerCon. If you love roller derby, you know that magic happens when derby people get together. Are you new to roller derby? Are you a seasoned and scarred veteran? Every level is welcome at RollerCon, and we've planned tons of events for everyone to enjoy. RollerCon is July 24th through 29th in 2018.
Back to the action on the track. We are in jam number 14. Carnage jamming for Dallas, and Mars Furiosity donning the jammer star for Rocky Mountain. Very close, clustered pack heading around that apex after turn 1. And Carnage runs away with it. She is your lead jammer for Dallas. However, we have a star pass, and Fiona Grapple now going to take over as the jammer of record for Rocky.
It's a bit of a race against time. Pack moving quickly. Bailey Wheat going in, trying to get some points, and I expect trying to keep Fiona Grapple off the board in this jam.
That's what it's all about, as according to the Hokey Pokey. And 1 point for
Gotta get
Dallas.
that obscure Hokey Pokey reference in here.
Yeah, I went there. Dallas grabbing 1 point before calling it off. That brings them to 119. Rocky at 74. Both teams still have their official reviews remaining. Rocky has 2 timeouts. Dallas has 1. And we are seeing that point differential shift a little bit back and forth. And speaking of shifting back and forth, who's out there jamming, Rosetta?
We have Rip and Rooster for Rocky Mountain. Bazooka Bubble Bum once again in star for the Dallas Derby Devils.
Bazooka Bubble Bum out in front. Oh, beautiful jammer take out there again by a Salt and Peppa. She has just been on it today, and she shoved Bazooka Bubble Bum out of bounds at turn 2, that formidable turn 2.
The thing is, she took out Bazooka Bubble Bum, but she went out herself, so it wasn't as effective as it could have been. However, it did buy time for Rocky Mountain. Rip and Rooster now your lead jammer. Bazooka Bubble Bum going for the star pass. I believe that is Anita Riot acting as pivot now with a star in her hand.
So even though we say it wasn't as effective as it could have been, that jammer takeout, it did force her to go back about 20 feet to re-enter because that was kind of a tag team effort. But regardless, right now, we have some different people in control than what we initially expected. Rip and Rooster now having to fight against that tag team of Juicebox and I believe that is Guillotine Grace up in the front, who are collectively known as Grape Juice. I've been told by our producer, Lotta Legs.
Derby Power couple name.
Right. And Anita Riot officially has the star on her helmet, has completed her initial pass, and Rip and Rooster calls it off before Dallas can put any points on the board. Rocky comes away with 8. Again, closing that gap little by little.
Picking away at the score, just 37 points separate these teams. For our next jam, we have number 9, Bailey Wheat in the star for the Dallas Derby Devils. And that is number 88, She Who Cannot Be Named, in the star for the Rocky Mountain Roller Girls.
Now, She Who Cannot Be Named has started as the jammer 5 times, but only has put 5 points on the board, whereas Bailey Wheat is your top point scorer in the entire game. And here you see why. She's responsible for 50 of Dallas's total 119 points.
That's right. Bailey Wheat has been an extremely effective jammer. She's fast. She's agile. She's getting the job done. She Who Cannot Be Named at the front of the pack, attacking Dallas blockers with the star in hand. Star stash, though, not a cap pass. She puts the star back on once she completes her initial pass.
Bailey Wheat calling it off right before She Who Cannot Be Named approaches the pack. Bailey grabs 4 points before calling it off.
Current score, 82 to 123. Dallas in the lead with just under 8 minutes left in the game.
We are heading into jam number 17. And it looks like up next on the jam line, I believe that is Carnage, who's going to be jamming for Dallas.
And that is Morphine for the Rocky Mountain Roller Girls.
This is Morphine's first time to jam in this half. She only has seen 2 jams prior in the first half, so total of 3, and has only put 1 point on the board for Rocky, but we could see that change.
Looks like Carnage getting forced to the outside, but it's a forearm call.
On Jersey Whirl. Jersey Whirl, we've said that name a lot on offense. She's been big on helping those jammers get through the pack, so we'll see how that has an impact here. Meanwhile, Carnage contending with a 2-woman wall. Not even a wall. It's more like a cluster.
One
yeah,
wall.
Exactly.
Carnage emerging from the pack as the lead jammer. It took 45 seconds for there to be a lead jammer.
The helmet cover is currently in Morphine's hand. Don't know if that's going to be a stash or a pass. I'm leaning towards stash because her pivot is about 40 feet behind her at
Not
this moment.
an ideal star passing range.
And Morphine is through that pack. Carnage now on a scoring pass, calls it off, and they give her the full 4 points. So she must have gotten swallowed back up into that pack.
Probably the worst part of being a jammer, when you get your points, but you're eaten back up by the pack and cannot escape.
All over again. And it looks like we have a team timeout on the track called by the Rocky Mountain Roller Girls. This team timeout is brought to you by
Adam Skates. Try Adam Skates Savant wheels. They're lighter, stronger, and have one of the smoothest rolls that money can buy. You can get 10% off on any Savant purchase as a Clover Cup special. Visit Resurrection for all your Adam needs. We are still here in the timeout. Looks like our teams are taking a moment to rest and regroup and decide how they can most effectively use the last 6.5 minutes of this game.
Well, for acute pain, that includes doing a little bit of jazzercise danciness behind the jammer line as this timeout is still underway. A little bit of conversing at the jam line. That's a whole lot of white jerseys surrounding.
They're ready.
Yeah, indeed they are. And that it was Mars Furiosity who has been swarmed by white jerseys. Very different defensive position than we've seen a lot. Rocky really keeping that tripod in the front and Dallas anchoring that box in the back, but it doesn't seem to phase Mars Furiosity, who is now out of the pack and your lead jammer.
That is correct, Scarlett. I see acute pain has ripped the star cover from her head, but looks like she's not in a position to pass, just trying to create a little confusion. She gets knocked down by Fiona Grapple, but Fiona Grapple going to the penalty box for it. Mars Furiosity picks up her 4 points, ends the jam as soon as that's done.
Mars Furiosity, the lead point scorer and most frequent jammer for Rocky right now. She's been in 12 jams thus far and is responsible for 29 points on Rocky's scoreboard.
Quite a few points considering Rocky Mountain has 86 points total. That's about 1/3 of all the points.
Score is currently 127 to 86. 5 minutes left in the game. We are heading into jam number 19. And who is jamming now, Rosetta?
Looks like we've got Bazooka Bubblebum out there for Dallas up against Harper Bazaar for Rocky Mountain. Harper Bazaar throwing her body into Dallas's defense in turn 2, but Dallas anchored by Fisher as a brace, working with Planet of the Skates, Anita Riot. They are not giving Harper Bazaar an easy time, to say the least.
Salt and Pepper trying to provide that offensive assist and then goes on the defensive, trying to hold back Bazooka Bubblebum, but Bubblebum gets through. She is your lead jammer for Dallas.
That is correct. Bazooka Bubblebum now prepared to score. Harper Bazaar looks like she has finally emerged from the pack, cap in hand. Bazooka Bubblebum about to lap Harper Bazaar and steal her point.
Well, not if Harper has anything to do with it, but apparently she didn't have that much to do with it right there. She got shoved out of bounds by Dallas's defense and is forced to recycle. Meanwhile, Bazooka Bubblebum clears that pack with very little resistance for one scoring pass and is now on a second potential lapping of Harper Bazaar.
Harper Bazaar caught up with Fisher at the front of the pack. Started out looking strong for Harper Bazaar, but 4 points on the board for Rocky Mountain Roller Girls, 12 for Dallas in that jam, bringing us to 90 points for Rocky Mountain, 139 total for Dallas. Just about 3 minutes left in the game for third place.
Not impossible to overcome that 49-point differential, but we would have to see some pretty dramatic things happen. You know, lots of time in the penalty box, so on and so forth. We have seen more penalties on Dallas's side, but Rocky's pretty evenly matched. 21 for Dallas, 19 for Rocky, but not evenly matched necessarily are the two jammers that just took off. Jet now lead for Dallas, and Rippin' Rooster still trying to make her way through on that initial pass.
That's right, Dallas has this game in hand right now. Like you said, Scarlett, unless they really crash and burn, seems like Dallas will be taking third place here at Clover Cup 2018.
Now, Jet has some great rotational movement that has been key to her being able to get through some of those sticky situations with Rocky's defense when they're really locked down. And it looks like Jet was able to grab 7 points before calling it off, holding Rocky scoreless on that jam. Both teams still have one timeout and their official review remaining for the half.
You can see that Twitter is already gearing up for our championship bout. It looks like our friends from Mad Rollin' Dolls are tweeting, getting hyped for this first place game. Once this game ends, we will be seeing Sacramento Roller Derby versus the Mad Rollin' Dolls at 6 o'clock.
Now out on the line, this is a bit of a different matchup than we've seen. Bailey Wheat going up against Morphine, who I believe this is only her second jam of the half. Morphine wanting to contribute to her team's total score right now. Bailey Wheat controlling the scoreboard right now with 54 of Dallas's total points. And we have a cutting the track penalty called on Bailey Wheat.
Right here in the 11th hour of the game, Bailey Wheat going to the penalty box. Power jam for Rocky Mountain Roller Girls. What are they going to do with it? Morphine now out of the pack. She had the opportunity still to become lead jammer, and now she is.
And I believe that is Morphine's first time to grab lead jammer status and is the first penalty for Bailey Wheat.
Morphine decides to finish her scoring pass, call off the jam, and leave the next one to one of her colleagues. Bailey Wheat standing in the penalty box. And Rocky Mountain calling a timeout right now.
This team timeout is brought to you by Ben Hogan Sports Medicine. Sometimes when athletes give the game their all, they give more than intended. With Texas Health Ben Hogan Sports Medicine, there's no need to sweat. The team of sports medicine physicians, physical therapists, and athletic trainers will help you get back in the game. Call 1-877-THR-WELL or visit texashealth.org/Ben Hogan. So we are about halfway through the last team timeout for Rocky. There's 46 seconds left on the period clock. And this will be the close of our third place game. And unless something really significant happens, as we mentioned earlier, it's very likely Dallas will be keeping the third place trophy that they put together for this tournament.
For themselves in this case.
But hey, that's less luggage for Rocky to take on the plane.
It's hard to get those things home.
Hey, I've had weirder things confiscate. Like I when I was in Australia, I had a didgeridoo that I brought, and they told me I couldn't bring it on board because it was a weapon. So I don't know. Does a trophy count?
It right.
Does a trophy count as a weapon?
If you anything's a weapon if you really want it to be. But in this case, Mars Furiosity using her body as a weapon back on the track, plowing through. She is a lead jammer here, taking advantage of that power start. Bailey Wheat just now coming out of the box, cap in hand. Looks like she's trying to reach her pivot, but the Rocky Mountain Roller Girls not letting it happen.
No, and it seems like Dallas is actually focused on playing all the defense right now. They are not looking back to Bailey Wheat, so I can't see that, as a fully executed star pass, although now the pivot is working her way back, and looks like Mars Furiosity grabbed 5 points on that first scoring pass. Rocky cracks the century mark.
Mars Furiosity caught up with the last two blockers. She is once again free. That's another high five. 5 points for Rocky Mountain. Bailey Wheat out of the pack, cap in hand. The crowd screaming, "Put it on," so she can actually score her points when she comes around.
The period clock had expired, so this was going to be in the hands of Mars Furiosity, and she calls it off after grabbing 14 points for Rocky. And we have an unofficial score on the board of 146 to 109. Hugs all around on both benches. So it looks like Dallas walks away with third place, Rocky in fourth.
Interestingly, of course, Rocky Mountain came in as the number 1 seed in the tournament, and they are ending at fourth place after getting knocked down by Sacramento Roller Derby in the first game. Dallas Derby Devils ending in third, came in as the second seed, so they didn't move too far. Rocky Mountain ending on a high note, 14-point jam. Final score, 109 to 146. Well, I should say unofficial final score.
Yeah, we haven't heard the whistle yet, but there's people on the track, so that makes me think it's probably
It's
final.
pretty